In the Simpsons series debut, the first thing we see is Homer's car. The first thing Homer does is hurriedly run it into a snowbank. What an appropriate start to this long-running series. Over the next 30 plus years, we've seen Homer's pink car repeatedly smashed up, lit on fire, and sunk to the bottom of various bodies of water. And yet, in the next episode, it returns to its former partially dented glory, as if nothing happened. Heck, sometimes it happens in the very next scene. So today, we're going to explore the life and many deaths of Homer's magical pink car. How does this keep happening? How does it keep coming back to life? And most importantly, how many pink cars has Homer destroyed? Alright, one night only, it's the Homer Pink Car Demolition Derby. We're gonna crash his car, and then we're gonna crash it again, and crash it one more time. We've got classic era crashes, modern era crashes, the awkward teen year crashes. We're gonna crash Homer's car until we've lost touch with any semblance of reality. These are the rules today. We are gonna look at Homer's car and see how long each one survives until Homer wrecks it. A history of Simpsons car crashes, if you will. Ready, set, go. Let's start by looking at the original pink, right from Simpsons Roasting. So, dear viewer, when do you think was the first time this car was wrecked? Do you remember? No, that was their RV in episode 7. The original pink made it 20 episodes until encountering Truckasauruses in Bart the Daredevil. Homer drives the wrong way in the parking lot, gets stuck in the mud, and damn, this thing is total. What's interesting about this first example is how they get into the specifics of the damage and the financial payout for the repairs. Oh, Season 2, you're so down to earth about your car-eating robot dinosaurs. In fact, they even somehow drive it home afterward. But let me be clear, this car is donezo. Even if they manage to repair the chassis, the engine, the windows, and the exterior, it's been so ship of Theseus that it may as well be a new car. Okay, so let's move on to Pink number 2 in the series. How long did this one last? Pink number 2 did get a little beat up over the course of seasons 2 and 3. Lions sleep on it, looking pretty rough afterward. Homer falls asleep at the wheel in Lisa's pony, somehow not crashing it on the way home. And let's not forget about the compact car space, with sparks flying. Then the following year in Homer the Heretic, it makes it through this exciting chase, landing mostly unharmed on this trash boat. But then we hit the pink car death spiral of season 4. In Itchy and Scratchy the movie, Maggie takes it out for a joyride and crashes it into the wall of the prison. R.I.P. Pink number 2, you had a good run. Pink number 3 only made it through 2 episodes until Mr. Plow comes along and Homer smashes it into Marge's station wagon. Dang, look at how mangled up both of these are. I don't think either vehicle made it. We know for sure Pink number 3 got replaced here, as that was what the rest of the episode was about. Put it in H! Pink number 4 does just as well as its predecessor, making it through 2 whole episodes until Homer hits that chestnut tree at the beginning of Marge vs. the Monorail. Interestingly, later in that same episode, we see Homer's car again, as if nothing had happened. Frankly, I'm shocked that Conan O'Brien would play fast and loose with these details. Since the cars are already starting to pile up, we should consider Homer's auto insurance for a moment. After all, Mr. Plow had the insurance adjuster come out to discuss late-night businesses. In each case, Homer's insurance would be paying out some repair amount, or totaling the vehicle and paying out its residual value. I think it's a very safe assumption that its actual cash value is quite low. I mean, it's the 1990s and his car has an 8-track player. The Simpsons are clearly meant to be behind the times. Much later in the series, Homer specifies that it's a 1986 Plymouth Junkerola, and other episodes suggested it's worth $100 to $500. Obviously, we don't know the exact numbers, but it's a safe assumption that after any major collision requiring a significant repair, Homer's insurance will consider this a total loss. At that point, it would be cheaper to replace it with another pink car. So for the purposes of this analysis, unless we see it repaired, any mangled up car is dead. We'll argue about this again later, don't worry. So let's move on to Pink number 5, which has to be the luckiest in series history, somehow surviving season 5, an extremely chaotic year of The Simpsons. Sure, it gets a flat tire, it hits the Dean, it sideswipes another car, gets severe tire damage, and hits a deer statue, but is otherwise okay. The worst thing that happens to it is getting flooded, but we'll generously assume that they quickly got it out of there. Pink number 5 meets its end during Homer Badman, after Homer complains about nothing ever blowing over, and then a helicopter literally blows over his car. Oof, the whole roof caves in. At this point, it seems the writers got tired of constantly destroying Homer's car. In Homie the Clown, he runs Pink number 6 into this tree, but it shows up being okay during the speed hole scene, so I presume this collision wasn't that bad. Oakley and Weinstein clearly had bigger plans for this car, keeping it relatively safe throughout most of their era. King-size Homer flattened all 4 tires, it got severe tire damage at the military base, and the Secret Service disabled its horn. Also, they may have abandoned Homer's car with the house, and you only move twice. The big headliner of this era is the City of New York versus Homer Simpson. Pink number 6 gets left between the Twin Towers, and Homer totally destroys its fender by driving on the boot. In addition, Homer takes a jackhammer to the hood, and all the windows get broken up. This one is honestly a close call. The whole hood and frame hasn't been totally crumpled in, like in other examples, and they do drive it all the way back to Springfield, so I'll say this one just barely made it. Pink number 6 got to enjoy the rest of season 9, but season 10 quickly ended its run, killing it off when Homer idiotically stops on the highway and gets T-boned. Luckily, Pink number 7 got the privilege of living during the Mike Scully auto repair era, in which Homer gets hustled into buying 4 new tires, the whole floor is missing, and Homer pays nearly $7 grand to fix its hood after the Space Fish incident. Don't ask. This is the car that Homer took for a joyride through Springfield Elementary, leaving it in this condition. In Trilogy of Error, we get the rare Marge fender bender, rear-ending Rainer Wolfcastle and getting its windshield smashed in. Season 12 eventually finishes off Pink number 7 in Children of a Lesser Clod, where it catches fire and probably explodes shortly afterward. Seasons 13 and 14, for whatever reason, is the Pink Car Apocalypse, because we somehow go through 3 more of these. In The Old Man and the Key, Grandpa smashes up Pink number 8 real good after that fateful drag race. Hey, you should have seen the other guy. Then, 5 episodes later, Moe runs Pink number 9 into a light pole, where it catches on fire before we cut away. Season 14's The Great Louse Detective has one of the weirdest wrecks, in that this happens totally off-screen and only exists to introduce Frank Grimes Jr. And in literally the very next scene, Pink number 10 is fine again. So let's assume Jr. here did a bang-up job saving this one. It doesn't really matter though, because 14 episodes later, Homer drives it off of a pier, getting totally submerged at sea. I have no idea why this era is so smashy, as it also includes Jaws Wired Shut, which demolishes Marge's station wagon. I suspect it was because The Simpsons Hit and Run was in production at the time. Pink number 11 only stuck around for a dozen or so episodes, until Homer crashes it into Burns' office. Burns' goons toss it after him, adding insult to injury. However, it appears the writers got their aggression out of their system, because it's relatively smooth sailing for Pink number 12 for the next few seasons. We get a minor collision in the firehouse, overweight Bart dents up its roof. This is, unfortunately, the car that gets flipped over when Homer frames Marge for a DUI, and Little Big Girl is basically a car crash of an episode, so there's that. Maybe Pink number 12 is cursed. The third worst thing that happens to it is Marge angrily rear-ending it in the season 17 premiere. But they do drive it shortly afterward, so maybe its bumper is salvageable. Eventually, cursed Pink number 12 gets put out of its misery in the Simpsons movie, swirling away in the sinkhole abyss with the rest of Simpsons House number 1. Season 19 provides us another storyline about repairing Homer's car, in which Homer abandons it for a loaner, and eventually buys it back for $99. But, in seasons 20 and 21, those bloodthirsty writers are back at it again. Pink number 13 somehow survives this crash in a subway, only to get totally crushed by a tree a few episodes later. Then, in the very next episode, Pink number 14 goes careening off the side of the interstate. Why did I bring my baby and the dog to the poison store? The following year, Pink number 15 gets abandoned after sinking into a frozen lake. And, only 4 episodes later, Pink number 16 also goes careening off the side of the interstate. At least Homer won the lottery this time. Here's the weirdest thing of all. From seasons 22 through 29, they completely stopped destroying Homer's car. It's baffling given what we've witnessed so far. Pink number 17 easily holds the esteemed Pink Car Longevity record. This was an era more about localized snafus, like a girder going through the windshield, comic book guy smashing a window, an ostrich tearing through the roof, Bart vandalizing the hood. We get a couple minor fender benders with this fire hydrant and this garage door. Homer messes up Pink number 17 at the end of The Scorpion's Tail, but the old-timers fix it good as new. They love teasing a car crash, but not actually doing it. It's so unsatisfying. Somehow it survives this dangerous trek, somehow it defies physics at the skate park, and somehow these fireworks never explode. Even when Pink number 17 gets sold to a demolition derby, Homer is able to buy it back at the end for $99. I guess this counts as surviving the episode. I guess. Finally, they kill off this car in season 30's Krusty the Clown, after this very exciting and dangerous fight on the interstate. They slam into this billboard at an extremely high speed. And now we're nearing the finish line. Pink number 18 gets a decent run of 3 seasons, bumping into a light pole and a tree, eventually getting dumped in the river in Pixelated and Afraid. Pink number 19 gets driven into a ditch during season 34, and gets its face caved in by this fire hydrant in the season finale. Yeah, I don't think this one made it. And since then, Pink number 20 is our current surviving car on The Simpsons. Its most notable achievement is participating in the great Homer-Flanders car fight of 2025, where they ram into each other repeatedly. If you think this killed off this car as well, be my guest. But I think I've made my point by now. Homer's totaled it at least 19 times, and this is a very conservative estimate. It's probably more like 30 given their age and condition. Also, if you're interested, Marge's station wagon has been destroyed 5 times. First in Mr. Plow, then Kill the Alligator and Run, then Jaws Wired Shut, Adventures in Baby Getting, and the opening of Dad Behavior. What's weird is that Marge's car gets some of the most quote-unquote violent deaths, like getting struck by that train or totally exploding in the demolition derby. I mean, this thing got buried under a giant pile of garbage in a sinkhole. That's pretty rough. Marge's station wagon has definitely gone through the gauntlet, plenty of smaller run-ins sprinkled throughout the series. But, in general, since Marge isn't an aggro-maniac like Homer, the station wagon is in much safer hands. Also, I think Marge is just a better driver than Homer in general. Homer has wrecked plenty of other cars over the years, as well as 2 separate RVs. This includes vehicles owned by others or part of some scheme. Homer's wrecked Flanders' car at least twice, as well as damaging his boat and RV. By my count, Marge only has the destruction of the Canyonero on her record. And while we're at it, we should probably throw in Bart's destroyed rental, and him valiantly wrecking Hitler's car. Obviously, looking at all this data in the aggregate, this is total nonsense. That Homer could even have a driver's license after this many collisions, after hitting so many people. That any company would bother insuring Homer given his record. They would basically have to pay out his vehicle's value once or twice per year. Homer's insurance premiums have to be ridiculous. And this is all assuming that Homer is replacing these pink cars with a different one every time, like a logical person would. I hear your objections, that we have no proof that Homer isn't repairing each of these, like in a couple examples. Still, the other scenario is even more nonsense, that Homer's paying thousands and thousands of dollars for these extensive repairs. He loves old Pink that much. And it's never completely fixed either, it's always returned to its slightly dented up base condition. I guess it adds character. Any rational explanation for what is happening to Homer's car doesn't really stand up to scrutiny. In fact, I asked a panel of 10 to 12 insurance adjusters who all said the same thing. It's a cartoon, please leave me alone. But I think that's what's most interesting about it. Homer's car is arguably the most clear-cut indicator of the Groundhog Day loop of the series. That no matter what happens in the next 22 minutes to this car, we know it will be reincarnated in the very next episode, as if nothing happened. Live, die, repeat. Live, die, repeat. Wait, I might be mixing up my references here. With character arcs, like Homer becoming a better father or husband, you can sort of hand-wave them away, because they're all internal changes, and people are complex enough that it's hard to judge what's resonated. Maybe Homer took something away from Lisa's pony, who knows? Whereas his car is visual proof of the reset, the chaotic stasis that Springfield exists in. Maybe this is a stupid argument, but I do think that periodically crashing this thing is good for the series. The Simpsons is such a densely written show, where the witty dialogue and ideas win the day. It needs to be balanced out by these exciting chase scenes and danger set pieces. A talky episode like Homer the Heretic throws in this action scene for variety. I think it would lose something important by not having it. Or in other stories, they'll quickly wreck it to make a point about Bart's thoughtlessness or how out of control the media is. Maybe that era from seasons 22 through 29 loses some juice by not engaging in this random wreckage, that it's indicative of a show that is too buttoned up. I know I'm making like the least intellectual argument ever of car crash good here, but I think The Simpsons needs that element of chaos. We need these action set pieces. We need these ridiculous cutaways. They're fast and cheap and keep everyone on their toes. Oh my god, am I making the argument that the Scully era was right to keep doing these endings? The regular reincarnation of Homer's pink car will never make sense, but that's the nature of the show. I'm gonna conclude that it's like Wolverine and has mutant regeneration powers. Let's blame the power plant. Whatever the case is, this pink car is iconic. If Homer's car were blue, it would be 100 times worse. Ugh, I don't even want to think about it. We all know that Homer won't wear a pink shirt, but he's proud to drive his pink car.